Okay, guys, I feel like I might need to give you a little bit of help with your drafting on part 2. So what I'm going to do is just go through the process as a bit of review. This is what we did in class today. So if you need a review of what we did in class, or if you weren't here, this will be helpful to you. I want to show you what I did. These are fake cards, by the way. I don't have real cards. I made fake cards with not real writing on them, but they do have headings, and they do have source numbers, right? So yours has a heading and a source number, and it's got facts down written below. What I'm doing is I'm taking all of my cards, and I'm looking at the heading at the top, and I'm putting all the ones with the same heading in a group. So I'm taking all my education cards, even though they're from different sources, and I'm putting them in a stack and putting them on the table in front of me. And I've got all my cards called What They Do, describing, let's say, I have the topic of nurse I'm going to take. So I take all the cards about what a nurse does, put it in a stack. I take working conditions, salary, types of nurses, and I put those all in separate piles on my desk, like this. You see? They're all laid out. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take this paper right here, which is the career reflection paper. This is the first sheet of the big packet that I gave you. And this sheet has the outline of all the things you need to include in this paper. So if you look under part 2, it starts at the bottom of the page and it's continued on the back, which looks like this. This tells you everything that you need to include in part 2 of the paper. So all you really need to do then is to take this outline of all the things you need to include and arrange your cards so they're sort of in the same order. So I say, okay, what they do. What they do is like the first thing, the basic description of that job. So I'm going to put that on my at the top of my desk here. And then I'm going to take my next one, and the next thing I think that fits is working conditions. That's the next thing that's on this list, so I'm going to put that below what they do. But remember, these are all still stacked up, so there are 3 cards in the what they do pile. And then I'm going to take the next one, which looks like it's salary. Oops, nope, I've got types of nurses. Oh, types of nurses, I forgot about that. Now that has to go under what they do before working conditions. So I'm sticking that one in there. And then I've got salary, and I'm putting that here, and I've got some cards about education. I'm putting those here. So then what I've got, let me show you, is a stack of cards in a big roll. I hope you could see that. That looks like that. I'm using my phone, can you tell? So then I've got all my cards stacked up. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look at each stack individually. So I'm looking at the what they do stack, and I read all the cards and I say, okay, I think I want to talk about this first, so I'm going to put it on top. And then I read them over and I say, I think the next one I want to say is this. I'm going to put that second. This is the third thing I think I'm going to talk about, and I put it third. So I've got them in order, from top to bottom. First thing I'll talk about in my paper, second thing, third thing. Put them all like that, put them at the top. And then I'm going to do that in each of my stacks. I've got a stack of 3 education cards. I'm going to go through them. I'm going to say, okay, this card is about high school education. This card is about college education, and this card is more specifically about the kind of college degrees. So I think it makes sense for me to talk about high school first, then college, and then specific college degrees. Right? So I go from more general or earlier in the education career to later. All right, so I've got those in order. Once I've got them all in order, I'm going to stack them up. Top pile, what they do on the top, types of nurses next, working conditions under that, salary under that, education under that, and I'm going to do that with all my cards. And so I have one stack of cards with the first one I'm going to talk about on the top, the last one I'm going to talk about on the bottom. What then I can do as I'm drafting is I can take this stack and put it down on the table in front of me, and I can draft something, start drafting my first paragraph, include this fact. When I include this fact, very important, do not forget to put this number in the text right after the sentence in parentheses. So I'm going to say these facts, I'm going to write about them in my paragraph, and then I'm going to put this number in parentheses after that sentence or after that section I just wrote about. When I'm finished writing about that card, I'm going to turn it over, go to the next card. In the next card, I've got more information I have to include, so I'm going to continue writing. I may say some things myself. I may decide I want to expand a little bit. I may want to discuss the facts a little bit. I may want to add some transitions to move from one idea to the next. When I get to talking about this card, I'm going to make sure it has a 4 after it, because that's the source it came from. And when I'm done with it, I turn it over. So basically, as you're drafting, you're working your way through the stack one at a time, making sure that you include the information on the card, you paraphrase it in your own words, you talk about it a little bit, discuss it, expand on it so the reader understands what you're really talking about. Remember, you just have bullet points here. You don't have full ideas. You have to make those ideas fleshed out and full when you actually put them in the paper. And then you're going to make sure those numbers are at the top of after each thing that you write in the paper. So when you finish the paper, it looks like this sample that you have that we talked about today in class. You have this sample. I've posted it on Edmodo. I've also posted pictures of all these notes on Edmodo. So you should be able to use this to help you understand what the final looks like. So now you have the video to show you how to go through this. You have your own cards. You have a model of what the final looks like. Remember, we're only doing part 2, what I learned about my job, for Tuesday. But you want to make sure you're getting started over the weekend because it's a huge job to do this in one night. So this is the largest part of the paper. If you have any questions on this or you're having trouble on it over the weekend, then come to me on Monday with your questions. We can talk those through so that by Tuesday when it's due, you'll have them straightened out and we can answer them. Okay? So good luck and have a great weekend.